What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, your home for the 2020 World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. My name is Jeff Spiegel. Solo tonight. Daniel's got Lakers coverage. Matt is at the game in the press box, breaking this one down. So it's just me, but what a night. The Dodgers win 7-2. They put 17 base runners on, 12 hits, 5 walks. Despite the fact that they were terrible with runners in scoring position, 1 for 11, they still score 7 runs behind home runs from Mookie Betts, from Will Smith. But maybe the headline of all of it is the performance they got out of Walker Buehler. 4 1/3, just 1 earned run allowed. The bullpen comes in, picks up the other 4 2/3, allowing just 1 run themselves. And the Dodgers close this one out comfortably as the game goes down the stretch. So we appreciate you joining us. As you can see, it's just me. So Maria, Pedro, Ederico, Abe, Iris, Laura, I need your help. I need your help tonight. We're going to be talking player of the game. We're going to be talking biggest storylines. We're going to be talking questions and looking ahead to Game 5. But before we get to all of that, let's talk about this one. The tone was set right from the very first, in my opinion. Top of the first inning, Walker Buehler. First time he's on short rest in his career. What are we going to see? What are we going to get? First pitch, 97 miles an hour. Second pitch, 96 miles an hour. He gets out of the inning with just 11 pitches, a 1-2-3 inning. And then the Dodgers strike first. Corey Seager singles, Trey Turner doubles, and all of a sudden it's 1-0 Dodgers. Yes, they leave Trey Turner at third, but they jump ahead 1-0. Daniel and I talked in the pregame show. This is exactly what you were hoping for. A quick start for Walker Buehler and the offense jumping out in front, which is exactly what happens. The Giants put 2 runners on in the second. Longoria strikes out. Yaz misses a double, but then gets jammed on a soft liner to second base. They strand 2. The Dodgers come back and add to it in the second inning. Lux with a leadoff single. Bellinger with a single. 2 guys we'll be talking a lot about on this show. Chris Taylor with a deep fly ball to put the Dodgers up 2-0. They get Anthony Desclafani out of the game in just 1 2/3. They can't capitalize, even though they add another base runner with Mookie Betts. Doesn't matter. They get Desclafani out of the game. They're up 2-0 through 2. Bottom of the third. More of the same. Dodgers load the bases. Cody Bellinger, the one time that he couldn't make solid contact, he grounds out to the infield, can't score. Chris Taylor, again, flies out to the wall. Bottom of the fourth. Walker Buehler reaches on an error. Mookie Betts hits a home run. Dodgers up 4-0. Will put 2 out double for Will Smith, but Justin Turner pops out. The only guy on the offense, really, who struggled. Top of the fifth is where things got a little bit dicey. Buehler gets 1 out, then puts 2 men on. He comes out of the game. Joe Kelly comes in. He walks the bases loaded. A great stop by Will Smith to preserve the run there. They do get a ground out to score, and then another ground out to get out of the inning. So it's 4-1 Dodgers headed to the bottom of the fifth. A Souza walk, a Betts sack fly to load puts them ahead 5-1. Corey Seager comes up with runners in second and third. Just can't add to it. Gratterall in the sixth. I mean, talk about a guy that was dealing. 4 pitches over 102 miles an hour for Gratterall. He gets through. In the sixth inning, it looks like the Dodgers are going to extend the lead a little bit. Bellinger, ground ball to the hole on the right-hand side. A deflection off the first baseman right to the second baseman makes the play. No runs there. Vesia in for the seventh. He and Trinan combine for an easy inning. Dodgers go 1-2-3 in the seventh. Eighth inning, Trinan comes in, gives up a run, 5-2 Dodgers. But then in the eighth, Will Smith, 2-run home run after a Corey Seager single. And it's 7-2 Dodgers, and that's how it would end. Phil Bickford closing this one out. So the Dodgers win 7-2. They force a Game 5 against the Giants. That will be Thursday. Julio Urias against Logan Webb in that one. But let's talk about this one. We'll start with the obvious question. Who do you have as your player of the game for tonight? There's lots of choices, Dodger fans. You could have Mookie Betts, who's 2 for 4. Corey Seager, 2 for 5. Trey Turner, 2 for 4. Will Smith, 2 for 4 with a walk and a home run. Justin Turner, probably not on the list, 0 for 4 with a walk, but Gavin Lux reaches all 4 times. Bellinger, 2 for 4. Chris Taylor, 0 for 3. Walker Buehler reaches on an error, scores a run. On the pitching side, obviously, Buehler was great. Joe Kelly struggles a little bit, but limits the damage. Gratterall was great. Vesia, pretty good. Trinan, okay. And then Bickford, a perfect inning. So who do you have as your player of the game? We got lots of responses here. I love it. Ederico's got Mookie Betts. Laura, Nomo, both have Buehler. Dodger Chavez Ravine says this is a team win. I like it. Sem, Will Smith. I think Will Smith deserves some credit, not only for the home run to ice this, but again, he had a backhanded pick on a pitch from Joe Kelly that was absolutely critical to keeping the bases loaded. Of course, that run comes in on the ground out, but if that ball gets by him, the next run would have scored anyways. But shout out to Will Smith. Mosiach says, Lux player of the game for igniting the bats. I mean, reaching base in all 4 of your at-bats, hard to argue with that one. Jared's got Mookie. Deborah's got Buehler. Fernando's got Mookie. Alif's got Buehler. Abe's got Buehler. Alif Lux deserves a shout out too. Wakey got Buehler coming in on short rest. Ederico wants Gratterall. Let's see. Somebody said McKinney. They were clearly not talking about player of the game, safe to say. Junior Smile, Dave Roberts, player of the game. All right. I mean, you got to give Roberts credit. The decision to put Gavin Lux in that game, the decision to put Walker Buehler in this game. I thought he handled Buehler really well. So I think Dave does deserve some credit on this one. Lila offers Smith with a walk, a double, and a 2-run home run. Laura's got Buehler and Lux. Let's see. Taylor says Walker for setting the tone. I think that's fair. I mean, I can't emphasize how critical that first inning was. The 11 pitches, 1-2-3 inning was absolutely critical. The Dodgers jump ahead 1-0. Just knowing, settling things down. So shout out there. CK's got Buehler. Mayhem's got Mookie. Luigi's got Mookie. THP, Mookie or Smith. Cornbread, Butane, Iris, Buehler. Jower says Gratterall for hitting 103. He threw 2 pitches that registered exactly 102.5 miles an hour. I'll throw a trivia question at you. And maybe you saw this on Twitter. I don't know. But who is the Dodger pitcher that since they started tracking pitches, there's one player for the Dodgers that has thrown a faster pitch than Brewstar threw tonight? So I got this one wrong, dating back only to 2008. Okay, so my first guess was Gagne, a little too early there, but dating back to 2008, there's some trivia. Joss has Buehler as player of the game. Mosiach has Lux. THP, Lux a shout out. Swagmaster, Buehler had huge blank tonight. Yep, I agree. JJ's got Mookie. Mosiach says 4-way tie. I guess what's that? Buehler, Mookie, Will Smith, and maybe Gavin Lux would be the 4. Gregory's got Butane. Mr. Pilot's got Will Smith. No more FOMO. No more McKinney. There's no McKinney love tonight. Brett Wood says Walker. Let's see. So absolutely good stuff. Mayhem, Mookie Betts as well. I mean, again, you could credit any of these guys. I'm a little biased. I was joking with Daniel. Our pregame predictions, by the way, quite the performance from us tonight, if I might say so myself. I called for a big game from Mookie Betts. He goes 2 for 4 with a home run, a run, and 3 RBIs. My prediction for offensive MVP, I went a little outside the box. Gavin Lux, 2 for 2 with 2 walks, a run. Basically the only guy who didn't get an out with runners in scoring position. Turner was 0 for 2, Seager 0 for 2, Taylor 0 for 2, Betts was 1 for 1, Bellinger 0 for 2, Smith 0 for 1, Buehler 0 for 1. They left 11 guys on base, all in the first 6 innings. So Gavin Lux, I think, deserves some credit. And then, of course, as somebody pointed out, Will Smith, 2 for 4 with 2 extra base hits, a run, 2 RBIs, and a walk. So he reaches 3 of 4 times. And again, that pick saves a run in the 5th inning. So those are all good choices. I also predicted 4 innings pitched, 1 earned run for Walker Buehler. Apologies to anybody that took that one to the bank. He goes 4 1/3 innings pitched, 1 earned run. I also think I predicted 4 strikeouts, which he had exactly 4 strikeouts. So good stuff from Buehler. I mean, I think under the normally you wouldn't look at that stat line and say, oh, definitely give it to Buehler, definitely the player of the game. But I think considering the circumstances, considering the pressure, considering the short rest piece of this, hard not to love Walker Buehler. If I had to pick one, I think I would go with Buehler, and then I think Betts would be number 2. I just think his home run, where it was in the game, deserves some extra credit, obviously putting them ahead. I mean, Smith's was great in that it just allowed us to take a deep breath and just enjoy the Bickford inning and not be stressed out about what's going to happen. But I think Mookie Betts deserves some credit there. I also predicted 5-2 as my final score, which my guy, Will Smith, ruins. Daniel predicted 7-4. So we'll split the difference on that one. We also predicted 2 home runs. The Dodgers do get 2 home runs. So I guess Will Smith needed to make me right one way or the other. He gets me the 2nd home run. So shout out to that as well. And again, you could look down the Dodgers bullpen. I think there's a lot of positives there as well. We talked beforehand. If you could just get 4 from Buehler, knowing that you had Kelly, you had Knable, who didn't even get used, Trinan, Jansen, who didn't even get used, and Vesia, they can subsidize those with Gratterall and Bickford to get out of it. Offensively, absolutely great performance from the Dodgers. So hard not to like that. Now, Game 5, David, I see you talking about Game 5. Logan Webb on the mound versus Julio Urias in 2 days. Both teams will have the opportunity to rest their bullpens, which is good news for the Giants, considering just about every guy except for their closer pitched tonight. I think that's an advantage for the Dodgers, having seen a lot of these guys already. I think that's why you didn't see Jansen come in and pitch the 9th inning. Just don't want to get him extra work. Don't want to get extra looks for the Giants at his stuff. Jake McGee, who's usually a pretty good player, the Dodgers get to see him a second time. Will Smith tees off and goes home. Gregory's asking, who's pitching for LA? It's Julio Urias, and he's on full rest. Logan Webb is actually going to be on an extra day of rest. Not that I think that will matter a whole lot, but That's what we've got for this one. So you've got to feel good if you're a Dodger fan. I mean, obviously, Scherzer and Buehler are your first two choices, but the way Julio has been pitching is absolutely fantastic. He's on fire of late, and that's kind of what you're hoping for in a game like this. Most people think, oh, your third best pitcher. The Dodgers, well, their third best pitcher had a 2.96 ERA and won 20 baseball games, struck out almost 200 guys, and had a WHIP of 1.02. In game 2, the Dodgers win 9-2. He goes 5 innings, allows just 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. His 2 last performances in the regular season: 6 1/3, 1 hit, 1 earned, 5 innings, 5 hits, no earned. So his last 16 1/3 innings, just 2 earned runs, and just 10 hits allowed, with 4 walks, striking out 15. So good stuff from Julio. Again, that's exactly what you're looking for in this game. The flip side is, and I'm going to ask this to you, and you tell me in the chat what your answer is, can the Dodgers actually hit Logan Webb? He was absolutely dominant in game number 1. Of course, that was one of 2 shutouts that the Dodgers have been on the wrong side of so far this season, in this series. Logan Webb, just utterly dominant. 7 2/3, 5 hits, no walks, no earned runs, 10 strikeouts, needed just 92 pitches to go 7 2/3. And then, of course, they've got Doval and Rogers behind him. So can the Dodgers hit Webb? You've seen the Dodgers go 0 runs, then they get 9. Then they go 0, then they get 7. Which group is going to show up on this one? Mr. Pilot says yes. They're going to hit Logan Webb. Abe says yes, we have film of his pitches now and can work the count. I mean, the thing is they saw Webb. They've seen Webb before. So it's not like, oh, this guy that they've never seen, but I guess seeing him recently, Laura, to your point, I think is a good one. The flip side is it's not like they started hitting him as the game went on. So we'll see. Eric says if Logan Webb repeats, then he's going to be a legend. So yes, I assume that means he's not allowed to be a legend. Therefore, yes, we will hit him. Obey Knight says Lux and Bellinger will hit him. That'll be interesting. There are some lineup decisions for Dave Roberts to make. I can't imagine they really change much from tonight's lineup. CK Chin makes a great point that the ump in game 1 shouldn't be there for game 5. It will be a different ump, so that will be a difference maker for sure. I actually thought the umpire tonight, from what I saw, seemed pretty good. You usually don't notice it when the guy is actually good. You only notice it when bad, but we'll see. Guillermo says if you put a good lineup out there. I mean, would you guys, I'll ask another question. Do you throw the same lineup out there again? I mean, Gavin Lux batting, where he was batting 6th. He reaches base all 4 times. He had Bellinger 7th, Chris Taylor 8th. Is that the group that you send out against the righty in Webb? Obviously, that's mostly the same group with the exception of Lux in for Pollock. Will Smith got moved up today. He rewarded that as well. So we'll see. Boomer Assassin says yes. Aeronetic says yes. Keep Will at 4th. Wakey 1974 says Lux has to play. Cornbread, yes, same lineup. Dodgers, Chavez Ravine, yes, no questions asked. Moose 1032, yes. Moshiat says Beatty at first, Bellinger in center, Lux in left. So, okay, so there's an option. Do you put Beatty back into the game, put Bellinger in center field, and then put Lux in and take Chris Taylor out of the lineup? It's an interesting option. Of course, Beatty started game 4, did not go well, 0 for 3 with a strikeout. But, the alternatives, Chris Taylor, I guess, did not play in that game. But Pollock was 0 for 3. Bellinger was 0 for 3. Both those guys had 2 strikeouts. So I think it's a fair question. I think it's an interesting one. Would you rather have Beatty rather than Taylor? Obviously, Taylor has come up with some big hits. I guess what I would say is that the one thing you can say about Chris Taylor is even when he flied out tonight, it felt like everything was to the warning track. Not his best night, 0 for 3, did get an RBI with 1 strikeout. Him and Turner are the only guys to really struggle pretty considerably offensively. But as far as, what the Dodgers were able to do tonight, I think that's an interesting one. I was going to try and pull up the stats from Chris Taylor's batted ball profile StatCast and just see what his exit velocity was, because it sure felt like he hit some balls hard tonight. Let's see. Chris Taylor on his sac fly, 102.5 miles an hour. Another flyout at 100 miles an hour. And then maybe those were the 2 I'm thinking of. So, 2 balls over 100 miles an hour. I know it's an 0 for 3 for Chris Taylor, but the other one was a softly hit ground ball. So, to hit a ball, 2 balls over 100 miles an hour is a pretty impressive thing. There were only about 15 of those hit all night tonight. So credit to Chris Taylor. He's hitting the ball hard. It just happens to not be at anybody. So do you put Beatty in? We'll see. Ederico says Lux in left, Taylor in center, and Bellinger at first base. And that would be the decision. Obviously, the upside to Beatty is that it lets you put Bellinger in center field. And that was another interesting thing because they had the decision to, do you put Lux in left field or do you put Lux in center field? He played center field tonight, and Dave basically said he likes the way that center fielders can see the ball. There's less slice, less running into the gaps, that kind of thing. The flip side is when you get to Oracle, it's a massive center field. So I think the option to put Bellinger out there gives you your best defensive center fielder in a much bigger outfield. Chris Taylor obviously not going to be playing first base, so then you have to decide between Lux and Taylor. I think you have to choose Lux after what you saw tonight. And then the question is, that would leave you at Beatty at first base. So I think that's an interesting, conversation to have. I think, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I do think it'll be interesting if they leave Taylor in the game with Lux. Who plays center field? Do they put Taylor out there knowing it's a tougher place to play center field? Interesting decisions. Like I said, last game it was controversial and crazy to think about, will Lux play over Pollock? And yet that one works out well tonight. Gregory, Pujols at first base. Pujols will not be playing against a righty, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look. If you look at his numbers against right-handers, it's not great. So he'll be a guy off the bench if they need somebody to hit against a lefty. Obviously, they would potentially have A.J. Pollock, Matt Beatty as some other guys off the bench as well. But, some people, I guess, want to start Pujols. You should look up Pujols' numbers against righties. Struggle Chewy says, Rubs or righty, can't start Pujols. I agree with that one. CK says not symmetrical outfield at Oracle, which is a good point. That's why it gets a little bit dicey. Matt Anderson. Okay, hot take. Justin Turner doesn't start. There's a 0% chance of that, I would say, that Justin Turner doesn't start. But here is an interesting conversation. I'll ask you. What spot in the order do you put Justin Turner in the lineup? Justin Turner, we know, is as clutch as they come. He's been the best playoff hitter in Dodgers franchise history. He hits a home run in the wild card game. But man, these last few games, Justin Turner has been really, really rough. He's come up in big spots. I think it was early on. Maybe it was at the first inning that he comes up. Yeah, bottom of the first. Trey Turner standing at second, or Trey Turner standing at third. Justin Turner is up at the plate. Just an awful looking strikeout. He took a couple pitches right down the middle where he turned around to complain to the umpire about, or just give him a dirty look, like, I can't believe you called it a strike. And so, I don't know. I mean, I could see them. So tonight, for example, they had Lux and Bellinger 6 and 7. I could see them possibly dropping Justin Turner down to the 6th spot and maybe splitting those guys up. So maybe it would be the same up top. You'd have Mookie, Seager, Trey, Will Smith, top 4. Maybe Gavin Lux batting 5th, Justin Turner batting 6th, Cody Bellinger batting 7th, Chris Taylor batting 8th. Obviously, if Matt Beatty is the guy there, then Beatty would bat 8th. But that splits up your lineup a little bit with lefties and righties, which is something they like to do. Again, I think he's got to be in there. It's just a matter of what we do. So let's see. Some predictions in here. Okay. Mosiach says I'd put him 7th. Boomer Assassin says 8th. I mean, 8th, look, Cody Bellinger had a good night tonight. Chris Taylor, I don't know. It'd be tough to put him 8th. Brett Wood 6th. Matt Anderson says 8th. Eric Lopez 7th. Ricketts says 6th. Ederico says 5th. Abe says 6th or 7th. Struggle Chewy says 6th. Dodger Love 518 says 7th. Craig says 7th. Let's see. Perena says, I think JT comes out strong in game 5. I hope so. Look, when Bellinger is as bad as he has been, it's sort of like it feels hopeless at times. With Turner, I always have this irrational confidence that he's going to get it out of his system. Justin Turner 7th is what Roger says. Iris says 6th or 7th. Boomer Assassin 8th, no bueno. Reach for the stars. I still like JT in the 5th. He can't stay cold forever. I'm kind of in the same spot as you. I just would prefer if he's further down the lineup. Matt says it's laughable that Smith has hit 8 and JT hasn't. I mean, that's just like the veteran love that they get. So 6th, 7th, we've got some options there. Perena says he'd move Justin Turner to the 2 slot. I'm not so sure about that one. About that one. Laura says 7th. Jim's asking, where is Daniel? Daniel is the editor of our Lakers site. So unfortunately tonight there's a conflict with the Laker game. So he is over there. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with me. It's just an unfortunate conflict. So it's just me here tonight. But let's look at Bellinger because that is an interesting one, obviously, for guys that we haven't expected. Cody Bellinger, 2 for 4 tonight with a run scored. Looking at some of his game logs, obviously, this is the best stretch of baseball that Cody Bellinger has had, bar none. He was 1 for 2 in the wild card game with 2 walks. He goes 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts against Webb. But then in game 3, he goes 1 for 4 with a double, the 2-run double. And then tonight, obviously, the performance that we just talked about, 2 for 4 as well. So, I mean, for a guy to have 4 hits in his last 13 at-bats, like with 2 walks as well, 6 for his last 15 as far as an on-base percentage goes, that's pretty much as best case scenario for a guy like Bellinger. A 400 on-base percentage, hitting up around 300. So, fascinating to see if he figures it out. Now, of course, today, it's tough because he comes up with the bases loaded, and that's where he has his worst at bat, where he grounds it out softly to the first baseman. But at least there's some productivity in other spots where it feels like he's making good contact. Fernando says he's willing to walk more. Yeah, he has 2 walks in the wild card. He hasn't walked since. He definitely is working counts. I believe his last at bat at least was a full count. So, it's tough to say. It's tough to say otherwise with that. But yeah, you got to appreciate what you've seen from Bellinger and the way he's playing defense at first base or in center field, especially in a place like Oracle where center field is a tougher place. We'll see. So King Yellowman says belly bomb incoming on Thursday. Yeah, I mean, he feels like he's due. It feels like he's like a 1 for 10. Once every 10 games we get a home run from Bellinger, so we might be due there. Let's get to some other thoughts and other questions here. Ederico, no mentions of Austin Barnes. That is correct. Austin Barnes, we're just going to let that one. We're just going to let that one go. Didn't make an appearance tonight, if I remember correctly, which is fine. We did get a Billy McKinney at bat, which is somehow worse. And both of those ended exactly as we would hope to. So there you go. Let's see. Jim, Lux brings energy to the lineup. He must start the rest of the way. I agree. I don't know how you could bench him. Energy is the exact word I used last night when we were talking. I just think there's a youthfulness to him. There's a confidence to him. There's a swagger to him that this lineup is lacking. Kind of like the Verdugo piece for what he does for Boston. There's just a swagger that he brings that a lot of these other guys are calm, cool, collected. So I like the balance of those two. So I'm with you. I think he needs to be in there. I think Pollock has been good all regular season, has struggled of late. You like his bat off the bench. So I would go with Lux for sure. Abner says, Bellinger surprised me. I gave up on him. I would say keep Bellinger in. I'm with you. I think as long as the offense, I said, if he can just reach base 1 out of every 4 times, that's not a good on-base percentage, 250. But if we just get 1 out of every 4, then it's tolerable. You can put up with it compared to alongside the defense that you're getting out of him. And so I think that's good. Justin says both Turners don't look good. I thought Trey played well tonight, 2 for 5 with an RBI. I believe he had a double, almost a triple. So I don't know. I thought Trey hit the ball well. His double, 106 miles an hour. He had a 103 mile an hour ground out, 100 mile an hour single. So, I mean, 3 balls hit over 100 miles an hour. His flyout was 94.5 miles an hour. So basically almost 4 hard hit balls for him. I don't know. That feels like basically best case scenario for what you're going to get. So I think Trey has kind of turned a corner. So I like what I've seen with Trey. Let's see. Lux bringing energy to the lineup. Struggle Chewy says prediction / hope that Bellinger will use Muncie's gray bat and hit one into the bay. It is funny the way Muncie has crushed the Giants historically, and to be missing him in this one, it does feel like not only is it Muncie, but it's Muncie against the Giants. I agree. Justin Turner, cold as ice. Yep. Mario says keep Lux in the lineup. Craig, this is an interesting question. Would you pitch Max Scherzer at any point in Game 5? So Scherzer having pitched yesterday being Monday, so he would be on 2 days rest. Is he available in a bullpen role? It's an interesting question. And I think there's a lot of factors, but I guess the short answer for me, and again, I'll throw this out to the chat. I'd love to hear from you guys as well. I would say no. I wouldn't use Scherzer in a relief pitching role, and here's the only reason. If I can get 5 or 6 out of Julio like I'm hoping for, I just like the bullpen. I like Kelly. I like Knebel. I like Trinan. I like Jansen. Those 4 guys I feel really good about. I would trust all 4 of them more than I would trust Scherzer, I think. And that's not a diss on Scherzer. That's more of a compliment to those 4. And then even after that, I think he's probably in the Gratterall type of realm where it just feels like there's an unpredictability with a starter coming into a relief role. Now, if you get into extras and those guys are done, but I mean, if you can get 6 out of Julio and then trust Kelly, Knebel, Trinan, and Jansen to get 9 outs for you, I don't mess with it too much. That's for me. So, that's where I would, that's my thoughts. Let's see what we got. No, Eddie says Scherzer for 2 innings. So Gavin says no. Dodger Love says no with 3 O's, in case you were wondering. Matt says, have we learned nothing from Kershaw? Justin says no. FIN says no. No way. Adrian, no with 4 O's. Abe, no. Cruz Digital, please no Gonsolin. I'm pretty sure we're safe that we're not going to get Gonsolin or Price unless it's the 19th inning on Thursday. Struggle Chewy, no, we have enough arms. Reach for the stars. Don't get cute with Scherzer, please. Ederico, I don't think so. He went deep yesterday. I think that's safe. Sem, everyone should be available on Thursday's game. I agree with that. I think he'll technically be available, but I don't see the upside there. And if you are the Dodgers, if you're going to win this game, you're hopeful that you'll have more games to play after that. Obviously, Buehler having just pitched today, Julio having just pitched in that one. I think you're going to want Scherzer to get you to game 1 of the NLCS. Now, again, you don't plan for the NLCS until you've won the NLDS. But that's where, for me, if I have a number of relief pitchers that I trust more than I trust Max Scherzer out of the bullpen, that's where I would hesitate. Now, I mean, if it's the 13th inning or something and you need somebody to give you some innings, sure. But until we get there, I mean, I'd probably trust him more than Bickford, maybe more than Vesey, although Vesey is a lefty, so it's a different situation. Probably about as much as I trust Gratterall. But, I mean, Urias would have to either be really bad to start or the bullpen would have to go past. We'd have to be going into extra innings for us not to get 9 innings out of Urias, Knebel, Kelly, Trinan, and Jansen, plus maybe a couple outs from Vesey against lefties. So that's from my perspective. But yeah, Nomo says Kelly's been shaky the last 2 games. He makes me nervous. I agree, not his best stuff tonight, but I mean, still to come into a first and second with 1 out and give up 1 run, it's kind of like, it's not great, but he did what he needed to do, a walk and 2 groundouts, limited the hard contact. So I agree with you. And Laura makes a great point. The bullpen will be completely rested for that one, which is true. Everybody gets an off day. And then, of course, Knebel and Jansen didn't even pitch tonight. So some fresh stuff there. FIN says Scherzer needs the rest. No questions asked. Yeah, there you go. Iris, Bickford looked great. Boomer Assassin with a hell no to the Scherzer question, I assume. Robert, the offense needs to show up again Thursday. And that's the big question, right? The offense needs to figure out Webb, he says. We need to get to Webb. That's the issue, Laura says. That's the biggest question. Can the Dodger offense? Tonight, I almost nailed it. I said the Dodgers score 5 runs, they win. I think that it's going to be the same number on Thursday. I don't think this is going to be like a 9-7 type of game. I think it's going to be whichever team can get to 5 runs is going to like their chances better. I think the Dodgers probably feel better about where their bullpen is at, as well as how they feel about the opposing team's bullpen, meaning they've seen a lot of these guys from the Giants already and just in the last couple of days, so they probably feel some confidence there. They're coming off of a win. Flip side is Giants are playing at home. They know they have their guy on the mound, and so it's going to be a back and forth. It's going to be a back and forth game. And again, I think if the Dodgers score 5 runs, they win. I don't know what your confidence is. Can the Dodgers get to 5 runs? I just feel like tonight, I mean, they scored 7, but with 1 for 11 from runners in scoring position. I mean, that felt like if they go 4 for 11, it's 10, 11, 12 runs they score tonight. So I like where the offense was tonight. Again, you get some of the big names going. Justin Turner, kind of the only guy that didn't, but Mookie Betts, some confidence. Trey Turner, some confidence. Will Smith, some confidence. Gavin Lux, some confidence. Cody Bellinger, some confidence. Like those types of players feeling good going into this one, believing in themselves. And again, they were in the wild card game. They had their backs against the wall tonight. They had their backs against the wall in the NLCS last year. The Dodgers simply have guys that know how to play in these situations. And so I like their odds. Logan Webb has been really, really good. He was obviously dominant in game 1. How many of these games has he played in? He's a younger guy, but Julio's a younger guy. Julio has like 9 playoff wins or something, 7 playoff wins already in his career. So I'm not going to say I like Julio more than Webb if you gave me the choice between those 2 starting pitchers, but I just don't think there's that big of a gap between the 2. And I think the Dodgers offense is in a good spot. I mean, look, the Giants offense has been basically shut down for 2 games. If the Dodgers could scrape anything together last night, we might be celebrating and talking about the NLCS. The Giants get 1 hit. They had 1 home run last night to go win 1-0. I believe at some point in the second inning, the Dodgers had retired 19 in a row from the Giants. So I think the Giants offense has been sluggish, and yet the Dodgers haven't put them away yet. So the fact that they get one more crack at it to prove that they're not in a hole, we'll see. Interesting stuff there. Jason, I'd love to see Dave be a touch more aggressive on the bases in Game 5. Pressure on Webb could make a difference. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Like if Mookie Betts, does he have more freedom to steal? Obviously, seeing a pitcher again, that's another advantage. Is just knowing his moves, knowing his timing. Does Trey Turner have a green light to go? With all the guys behind him, you hesitate a little bit because you're like, man, if Trey Turner's at first and Will Smith hits a double behind him, that's an easy run. But the flip side is if he steals second, then it's a single. So we'll see. Iris says Dodgers play better with their backs against the wall. I think they'll pull through on Thursday. Christian, need to adjust against Webb. He mainly throws low in the zone, sinkers and sliders. Hope the strike zone is good next game. Jim Foster, if we had won yesterday, would Webb have pitched today? I'm guessing so. I'm guessing they would have done what the Dodgers did, but they didn't need to make that decision. So I can't imagine they love Desclafani. I think the quick leash that we saw shows you how much confidence they really had in their guy tonight. And so we'll see. Matt, Webb looked nervous and Julio looked relaxed tonight. I don't know. Webb looked pretty calm, cool, collected to me. He seems like a confident guy, so we'll see. Mosiach, Julio wins at Oracle Park every time. We've got this. Craig, this just proves Giants versus Dodgers is the best in baseball. Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. I mean, this rivalry, the two best teams, I think someone said they've both now won 109 games this season. Obviously, the Dodgers playing an extra game in the wild card to tie them in the win column, 2-2 now. It's the only NLDS, or it's the only division series that is going to Game 5. So the whole world will be watching, the whole baseball world, not the whole world. Most people don't care about baseball. The whole baseball world will be watching on Thursday, and we'll good. I mean, I see people, Mike and Iris, talking about the anxiety level being down tonight. I agree. I wasn't that nervous, and it wasn't because I was confident. I don't know what it was. It just felt like I had maybe accepted some form of like, hey, if this doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I doubt I'll feel that way on Game 5. It feels like now that the chance to win is right in front of us. I mean, look, outside of like winning a World Series, this is probably the most significant postseason series the Dodgers have ever played in. I mean, obviously, it seems silly to say that because it's a division series, but the greatness of this team, the greatness of the team they're playing, the rivalry with the Giants, going down 2-1 and coming back to tie it, it's hard to beat. I mean, I know as a Dodger fan, for me, knowing the number of Giants fans that I have in my life, that I'm going to hear about this forever if they were to lose this game on Thursday, there's an extra level of meaning for this. So we'll definitely see. David says this is the real Game 7 World Series. I don't know quite about that. I mean, I think beating the Rays last year will forever be, more significant than this, but it's a real rivalry, as Aeronetics says. The fans in San Francisco are going to be crazy, as Perenna says, and we'll see. Crazy stuff. Cruise Digital, I'm a fan of Lux and Cody back-to-back at bats. They had lots of success tonight. Justin, Giants fans are the worst. Yes, I agree with you on that. So anyways, there you go. Lots of excitement. Again, the Dodgers win 7-2 tonight. Let's do this. If people have questions, throw your questions in the chat. We can get to some of those. And if not, then we'll call it a night early. Obviously, with just me, there's a little less talking going on. More talking from me, but less dialogue, I guess, between Daniel and myself. So if you've got any questions, throw those in the chat. If not, we can make some predictions for Thursday and then get out of here and rest up. The plan will be, by the way, we'll try and do a pregame show again on Thursday. So look for that. I believe it's another 6 o'clock start, so maybe 5:30 on Thursday. We'll see. We'll see there. And then there will be a live postgame. It might just be me again. I think the Lakers play again. So we'll see. FIN, why don't we see a bit more Gratterall or Kelly? I don't know. I guess I haven't been really surprised one way or the other. I feel like we've seen Kelly in the moments where they've needed to. And Gratterall, look, to be honest, Daniel and I both said we didn't even know if Gratterall was going to make the postseason roster, how bad he had been pitching in the regular season. Obviously, he's been great in every appearance in the postseason. So I don't know if there's more of them to see. I thought Kelly struggled a little bit tonight. I thought he was fine, but not great, which is, unsurprising. So, Mr. Gio, I love these lives, man. I appreciate it. Hey, I love doing these. So thank you guys for being here. Jason, great question. Which Giants batter scares you the most in Game 5? Man, who do I get the most worried about? I feel like it's Crawford. I mean, obviously, against the lefty in Urias, maybe that shouldn't be my most terrifying guy because you like the lefty-lefty matchup there, but it just feels like he's always dialed in. It doesn't feel like he's missing. I know Longoria's been struggling. He's like one hit. Of course, it was the home run, but he hasn't been great. Posey, it's just sort of like slap singles. Obviously, he had a home run in game 1, but aside from that, and they kind of shifted more to cover right field, and he's been neutralized from there. Darren Ruff, I mean, I don't know. He just, like, against lefties, he hits them really well. So maybe Crawford, maybe Ruff, one of those two guys. I just feel like when they come up in a big moment, I don't love it. I don't love it. Mosiach, how many runs will we need to open the Giants bullpen in game 5? That's a good question. How many runs would they need to get off of Logan Webb before the Giants go to the pen? I think Kapler will be aggressive. I think if, I don't think he'll be as quick as he was to Desclafani, but I think if the Dodgers had, 2 runs in and a couple runners on in the 4th inning, I think there would be action in the bullpen. So I would say if they can get 3 runs on Webb, I think the wheels start moving on the Giants side. Now, when those come, we'll make a difference. But I'll say 3 and a couple runners on. That opens the Giants bullpen. Mike Will, who gets the start at first base on Thursday? There was a great discussion. I don't think it's Pujols. He will not start against a righty. I'd be shocked. I think the question is how you want to handle, who you want, whether it's basically comes down to, I believe, either Chris Taylor or Matt Beatty. Who do you trust more? Do you like the lefty Beatty to back in the lineup to take the place of Taylor? My guess is Bellinger plays first base. They put Chris Taylor in center field and Gavin Lux in left field. Now, obviously, they had Lux and Taylor flop tonight. I think with the bigger outfield, the crazier outfield, the least symmetrical outfield, that you want a guy like Taylor in dead center. But we'll see. I just think Bellinger makes the most sense. They want to keep Taylor's bat in. I know he was 0 for 3, but we talked about he had 2 balls hit over 100 miles an hour that both went for outs tonight. And so we'll see. Lost at 7-7. Thoughts 7-7-7. Excuse me. Thoughts on the remaining teams. Gonna be honest, haven't thought too much about it. Obviously the Brewers pitching staff scared me a little bit, and so the fact that the Braves won, I mean, they're really good. Freddie Freeman, another big hit. Jock Peterson, you don't want to see any of those guys. So all the teams left at this point are good. I think I'm as surprised as most people that the Red Sox advanced. Obviously, not a big Astros fan, to say the least. I don't really like either of those teams. At least the Red Sox have Kike and Verdugo. So, I'm sort of focused and just trying not to get ahead of myself, not worrying about teams besides the Giants. But, I think you could say that the Giants are the best team remaining other than the Dodgers. And so if you can get through this one, then you might feel pretty good about the rest of this stuff. Ederico, how long do you see Urias go? That's a good question. I mean, what did he get? They gave him 6 innings, I think, in game 1. 5 innings. Game 2. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned. He threw just 72 pitches. So I think that's about right. I think 5 innings. I just don't think the Dodgers need... I mean, if he's like cruising, like 1 hit, 9 strikeouts or something, I think they let him go. But I just don't think with the way their bullpen is constructed, they feel the need to push it. They like, I keep saying the same 4 guys, but they like Kelly, Knebel, Trinan, and Jansen. They like Vesia. They clearly like Gratterall. So I don't think they look at needing to get 12 outs out of the bullpen as a bad thing. I think if they can get 5 innings from Julio, I would be surprised if he went more than 5. Would you pitch Vesia? Cornbread asks. Yeah, that's an interesting one. They've had chances to bring him in against Crawford, have chosen not to. They bring him in tonight to face some lefties. 2 of those guys get subbed out of the game. He does get Yastrzemski. So I don't know. Vesia worries me a little bit, honestly. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan. I am a big fan of Vesia, but he just, for whatever reason, his stuff, he was okay tonight. But Trinan comes in after he gives up a base hit. So we'll see there. Maxwell, can you expect Scherzer to come in if tied or behind? We talked a little bit about this. I would be shocked if they pitch Scherzer, and that has everything to do with how good I feel about the Dodgers bullpen. Nothing to do with Max Scherzer. Iris, is the Giants bullpen taxed from tonight, or will the day off be enough for them to rest? I think it's enough time. I mean, you look at the guys who pitched tonight, Garcia, Leone, and Littell. Maybe those guys 27, 22, and 35 pitches tonight. Those might be 3 guys that would be taxed to come back in 2 days. But I mean, Alvarez threw 3 pitches, Castro 12 pitches, Rogers only 7, McGee 9. So I don't think those guys with a day off, I wouldn't be worried about any of those folks. Dodger Love 518. You look happier tonight, Jeff. I'm glad. Yes, thank you. I did get a great night's sleep. And also the Dodgers won. They beat the Giants. The season survives. Every night I get to one of these and I'm like, this might be the last one. This might be the last one. It's not the last one. We got 2 more days to go. What do the Dodgers need to do to beat Webb? Elizabeth Talbot asks. I just think that at some point they're going to need to string hits together. It can't be relying entirely on the home run. I think it needs to be one of those innings where they get 4 straight singles, maybe a double mixed in, and put 2 or 3 runs on the board. I think that's going to be it. Not trying to hit the big home run every single time they go up to the plate, but just trying to make contact, trying to put the ball in play, trying to slide. It's a huge outfield. Just put the ball in play, let it get to the gaps, and let it run. Matt, what do you think of Roberts' overall in-game decision-making so far? Last year, I felt like they kind of won in spite of him sometimes. I think the Barnes decision, we went over that last night, was brutal. But aside from that, I think he's been pretty good. I think he made a bunch of really big decisions thus far in the postseason. I think the decision to pull Scherzer in the wild card game was a big one. It was the right one. I think the pinch hitters that he's used for the most part have been the right decisions. I think the way he's deployed the bullpen. So either way, the decision to put Lux in the lineup today, the decision to come back with Buehler on short rest. So I've got to give Roberts credit for those decisions. Again, I disagree with the Barnes one. That was a big decision. But, as I kind of talked myself through it last night, I said the decision to let Souza hit in place of a lot of those guys because of the platoon, and he gets a single, that was the same decision-making. So I can't say, hey, great call putting Souza in and bad call putting Barnes in, because technically it's kind of the same line of thinking there. Let's see. Andrew McDaniel, stock up, stock down. How about this? Stock up Dodgers offense, stock down Justin Turner. There you go. Dave Ricketts, Julio gives us a DH in the NL. I mean, yeah, it doesn't hurt when Julio can hit. That does not hurt. Let's see. A couple people asking, not Posey is the guy I'm worried about. Posey's really good. I don't know. The power doesn't seem to be there nearly as much. Chris Bryant, another guy I didn't mention. Let's see. I think I'm way behind on some of these questions. Bellinger at first. We talked about that one. Who starts in the outfield? Talked about that one. Let's see. Did you see Gabe Kapler struggling tonight? I just think that, they threw out DeSclafani. They took their chances. They knew they needed to win one of 2 games. They figured Webb is going to be one of those 2 guys. We'd rather have Webb on full rest rather than Gossman on full rest and Webb on short rest. I thought he went and got him when he should have. He trusted his bullpen. And, the offense just didn't score enough. Obviously, it comes back to 7 runs at the end. But, if you score 2 runs, there's nothing the manager is going to do. They didn't have pitchers hitting, that kind of thing. So there you go. Josh Hickman, not a big fan of this show. Josh, we appreciate you. You are on here. We are getting a watch out of you. So thank you. Thank you. Let's see. What does Urias have to do to be successful Thursday? Get off to a good start. With Urias, it's really simple. Throw strikes. First pitch strikes. Pound the strike zone. I think if he does that, he's going to have success. If he can't get into the strike zone, that's the problem. That's where it's an issue. Let's see. Do we think Gonsolin will pitch at all next game? I said Gonsolin and Price will only pitch if it's like the 15th inning or later. If anything happens other than that, then we've got some big problems. I guess Price, maybe if Fessy is gone and you want a lefty in some spot in like the 9th. But yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't count on it. Pizza in the Box. I like the Phil Dirt nickname. Joe Dirt, classic movie. So good reference there. Good reference there. Yes, we will see Nomo FOMO. We will see Duvall on Thursday. And let's see. Is Daniel going to be back for Game 5? TBD. I think the Lakers play again on Thursday. So we'll see what we can do there. We'll see what we can get him to pass that responsibility off to someone else. But I'm guessing, unfortunately, you might get stuck with me. We'll see if I can find somebody else to join me on the postgame show. Justin Lorber lives on the East Coast, so it's always really late for him. And then Matt is at the game. So those are my 3 kind of key guys. But if you've got any ideas, send me a tweet about who we can ask to be in the live postgame show, because that would be good. Let's see. Will Angel Hernandez make a critical call in Game 5? He won't be behind the plate. That's the good news. So there we go. Okay. Price has not pitched. That is true, which is a good thing. Yes, preseason basketball, gross. No comment on that. No comment. I'm sure he would love to be doing this, but it's kind of both things there. So, hey, everyone, I think that'll do it. Dodgers win 7-2. They force a Game 5. I'm going to be honest. I like the Dodgers' chances. If you've been following this channel and this show, that will not surprise you. Daniel did predict Dodgers in 5. I predicted Dodgers in 4, so Daniel has a chance to be right there. But I don't know. I find it hard to believe that this lineup, after a game like tonight, will go up to San Francisco with their backs against the wall and do the same thing against Logan Webb they did in Game 1, having just seen him 5 or 6 days ago. I think they can get enough on him to get him out of there in the 5th inning. I think they've seen the bullpen enough. I think the Dodgers do get to 5 runs. I think Urias and the Dodger bullpen keeps it to 3. I could see this as a close game, but I think 5-3 is where I'll go tonight with the Dodgers. So, folks, we appreciate you joining us as always. Make sure you check out DodgerBlue.com, DodgerBlue1958 on YouTube. We'll have tons of post-game content, all the press conferences, post-game reaction. You'll want to see that as well. So, thank you for joining us. Pre-game show Thursday, 5:30. I believe that's 30 minutes before our first pitch. 5:30 on Thursday, and then a live post-game show as well after. As always, remember, at least we can keep saying it. Still champs!
The best team holding a trophy high in the air. The Los Angeles Dodgers, champions of the baseball world.